Just going to let everyone know, we are going to record the Aurecon presentation part of this industry lunch. We'll stop the recording though when the question and answer section starts at the end. I'd like to thank you all for coming today. It's great to start more industry involvement with the Engineering Society. I'd also like to begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land which we're all on today, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present. I'd like to also extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders peoples here today. So from Aurecon today, we have 3 representatives. We have Nathan, who is the leader of the Newcastle office. Is that correct?
Yep, actually got a...
Oh, you got a lovely slide.
Yep.
Yep. So we have Nathan Roberts, who's the Newcastle office leader. We have Kelly Hardy, who's in project management. And we have Mackay, who's a graduate geotechnical engineer who graduated from the University of Newcastle. I'll hand it over to you guys now if you want to introduce yourselves further and then start your presentation.
Sure thing. Thanks, Matt. And thanks everyone for dialing in, and thanks for the invite to present to the University of Newcastle. So yeah, just a quick round of introductions a little bit further. So I'm Nathan Roberts. I'm the Aurecon Newcastle office leader. I'm also a principal engineer in the bridges and civil structures space. So I've got I graduated from the Uni of Newcastle myself back in 2004. And worked in Sydney and London and found my way back to Newcastle about 7 years ago. So yeah, I'm happy to share what we do in Newcastle and hopefully tempt you to come and join us and experiencing some of the things that Aurecon does. And I'll hand over to Kelly now for a quick intro as well.
Hi guys, hope you're going well and staying safe. I'm an associate project manager with Aurecon. I've been in the industry for about 15 years. So I started my journey in Victoria at Victoria University. I then moved to Brisbane, did a bit of work there for a few years, and then have found my home here in Newcastle, which has been great. So as a project manager, I guess I started as a civil engineer. That's what my degree was in, and I've just been able to venture into a whole variety of multidisciplinary projects. So excited to talk to you guys today about what we can offer at Aurecon and just general pathways for you guys into the future.
Thanks, Kel. And Mackay, do you want to give a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. Hi guys, I'm Mackay. I moved to Newcastle when I was in 2015. And then I studied at the University of Newcastle, and I graduated in May 2020. And yeah, I've been working at Aurecon since like last year, since the pandemic started. And I've been in the industry for a year and a bit now, so just over a year. Yeah. And
big thanks too for Mackay for dialing in from geotechnical investigation today. So great stuff, Mackay. So I'll quickly roll through the slides then, and we'll share the presentation between the 3 of us. And as Matt said, if you've got questions, put them in the chat. We can deal with them as we go or towards the end. So I'll give a bit of an introduction about what Aurecon does, and then Kelly will talk about what we do with graduates. Mackay will share her story. Kelly will share a bit more about diversity and inclusion at Aurecon, and then I can wrap up with a few projects and a few things we do at Aurecon. So yeah, Aurecon's a professional services business. We provide design and advisory services to clients across a whole range of markets in locations worldwide. We pride ourselves in working closely with our clients and to help co-create innovative solutions to complex problems. We've got over 5,500 staff in offices across Australia, New Zealand, and in Asia as well. And in New South Wales, we have offices in Newcastle, Canberra, and Sydney. We are privately owned by the employees and have formed as Aurecon in 2009 when Africon, Connell Wagner, and Ninem Shand announced the formation of a new global group. But our heritage companies have a long history dating back in Australia to 1934. And since beginning way back then, we've been able to help bring projects large and small to life and help shape the communities in which we operate. If you want to learn more about us from this presentation, by all means reach out, but you can also visit our website and follow us on social media, or take a look at our Just Imagine blog as well, which is online. So this is just a quick overview of the markets that we serve. We provide advisory, design, delivery and asset management services on projects worldwide across a broad range of markets. And these include everything from, as you can see on the screen there, aviation, through to water. I won't list them all, but we'll circulate the slide deck afterwards. But generally infrastructure, built environment, maintaining assets and delivering assets, and supporting business cases to develop those assets as well. So that's where we play, and we like to think we do things a bit differently from other large engineering firms, and we embed a real client and people focus in the work that we do, and that's been paying off because we've been recognised with some great recent accolades from in the industry. So in 2020, the Australian Financial Review voted or nominated, identified Aurecon as the most innovative company in Australia and New Zealand. That wasn't just in engineering, that was across all businesses. So we topped the professional services firms. We also topped the most best social innovation, which was a project that came out of Newcastle, and then we were the overall winners as well. And then again this year, the Financial Review identified Aurecon, or awarded Aurecon one of the best places to work awards. We were the only engineering and advisory firm that was in the top 10 that was selected. So a lot of that focus that we've had over the last sort of 5 to 10 years is really starting to pay off with a great culture and some good recognition in the industry as well. So I might hand over to Kelly there now, and she can talk a bit about what we offer for graduates and interns.
Thanks, Nathan. So I think, you know, your journey as graduates it's a really exciting start to your careers, and Aurecon as a company have like a whole breadth of offerings. As you can see from, you know, the slide just before, we kind of touch on a whole range of different areas that you can engage in. And I think the way that we can do that differently too is if you're open to being engaged across a number of, you know, different streams, there's always opportunity to move and change and grow. So for me, starting as a civil engineer, I've moved into project management, but having had a good sort of coverage over a number of different disciplines. So you can see from that slide there that, again, covering pretty well, I'm going to assume that all of you are from a different engineering discipline. So we kind of cover off any of all of that, as well as the advisory space, which is a bit more of the project management, contract administration work that we do. When you start that journey with Aurecon, you don't just start it coming into the big wide world of professionalism without any support. So we have a group called Limelight, which is a network of our young graduates that are able to connect with each other, but then using that platform to reach out to greater networks within Aurecon. So your journey is supported the whole way along. We have things like mentors, we have, you know, your line managers, but we've got different people to represent, we've got different people to support. The whole onboarding process allows you to learn about Aurecon and the way we work, the principles that we have and the values that we keep. There's opportunities for technical excellence, technical development. We do a lot of knowledge shares, and I guess the virtual world has provided an even bigger platform to us to do that at a broader level. So we're seeing more and more opportunities to grow that knowledge base. There's a buddy system that we have as well. So if you haven't found someone to connect with in your graduate group, you will have another buddy that's someone already embedded in the business. So silly things like checking in on processes or systems, you can always reach out to different people. So I think Aurecon has a beautiful base for lots of that growth and that development and that learning. So, you know, the transition from the uni life and that applied study to the work life and how those studies then play out into your career. It is a transition, and this is a very supported transition that you can get through Aurecon. I think Mackay, I'll hand over to you now because you can talk about that journey and how supported and what things you've experienced.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. So my journey started. So I'm originally from Zimbabwe, and I moved So I'm just going to talk about my experience as an international student and my journey to working for Aurecon. So I'm just going to give you a background on myself. So I grew up in Zimbabwe with my parents and my little brother, and then I moved to Australia to study in July 2015, and I pursued a degree in civil engineering. And while I was at university, I was part of like the University Women's and Engineering Society, and I also worked like as a waitress at a catering company, and I volunteered as a teaching assistant as well at a mini Sparks program, which is basically a program where you can help kids who want to be future engineers, like build structures and like do electrical circuits and stuff during their school holidays. So these activities kind of helped me with my personal development and just like investing in myself and kind of building skills such as like communication skills and stuff and things like that. And then at the beginning of my final year at uni, I started applying for jobs, and I did get a lot of rejections, and it would kind of dampen my spirits a little bit. And I thought I would never get a job, and I couldn't continue to apply to places. And then I was just kind of like at the point where I was like, oh, just gonna have to try everything. So I messaged the Newcastle office leader at the time, Jane Moran, on LinkedIn, and I asked her if they had any like positions available, and she was just like, "Oh, just send me a CV, and then we'll see." And then yeah, I ended up getting an interview, and then I was supposed to start Aurecon in March 2020. And yeah, just because of like that was like at the beginning of the pandemic, and so I had one round of interviews just with Newcastle leader on her own, and I tried and I with a different team and the drainage team, and then I had another round of interviews, which was now for the geotech team. And in uni, I was kind of a bit like iffy about geotech. Like I wasn't really sure it was for me because I had a really hard time in the first few courses. But yeah, I really love it now. And so just one thing that I encourage you guys to do is like with applying for jobs, just use any unconventional method. So whether it's messaging on LinkedIn, like don't be afraid to just put yourself out there in any way. So I found I got the job in early March, as I said, and I was due to start later that month, but just because of COVID and it was a new thing and everything had started, they pushed my start date to April. So usually when you start a new job, you have a mix of emotions. So you're nervous, you're excited, and I was feeling all of that. I was scared to also get COVID because I was like, oh, what does this mean? I was grateful to have the opportunity to also get a job during such just an uncertain, difficult time. And also because I'm an international student, I was on a student visa. So I was kind of concerned, like, would I get a graduate visa? Would I not get a graduate visa? And also just being worried about my family because they're all back home in Zimbabwe. Next slide, please. So on my first day in the office, the office was completely empty. It was just me and my line manager, and Kelly talked about the buddy system. So my buddy was the admin leader, and her name is Tammy, and she's lovely. And basically the whole week was just an onboarding process, which was just basically getting me acquainted with Aurecon, the values that they hold within the company, and just like what I will be contributing to Aurecon as myself, kind of thing. And I started off part-time at first because I was still on a student visa at the time, and I had to complete my internship. So I technically finished my courses in 2019, like in December 2019, but I still had a bit of my internship to complete. So I completed that with Aurecon. So that's why I was working part-time in the beginning. And yeah, so Aurecon also has like a flexible work arrangement, which was pretty cool, something that I wasn't really familiar with prior to working for Aurecon, where you can kind of like, you can set your own hours and just discuss with your line manager when you want to work and like what time suits you. So if you want to work really early in the morning and finish early in the day, you can have that kind of schedule. Or if you want to work really long, like really long days, Monday to Thursday, and then Fridays off, you can do that as well. So it's kind of just like picking your own schedule, but just making sure you get all your work done, of course, and all those things. Next slide, please. So during this uncertain time, while I had started during COVID, I was provided with just a lot of support. So I had my buddy, as I said before, and she checked in on me quite a lot. And there was also, like, I've noticed at Aurecon as well, that there's a big focus on preserving people's mental health and making sure people are okay. Like, I feel like people's well-being comes before, work and stuff, I feel that's really good, especially during this time where people's mental health people have been suffering with their mental health. So just kind of the things that we did. So they, to make sure people were taking their lunch breaks, for example, just that they had the break in the day, they were holding like yoga classes, like from in the afternoons. And then you also have like coffee roulette, coffee roulette is every month you get randomly selected with a buddy in your office, and you just catch up with them, get to know them, like just talk, you can just talk about whatever you want to talk about, really. And my line manager was always also there for me. Anytime I needed to talk, he was available to chat, even though his timetable is very, very hectic and has meetings back to back all the time. He was always available for me, like if I had any questions. And then also my other colleagues were also there for me as well. And then we had weekly team meetings, also just checking in on everyone, seeing if everyone's okay, seeing what people's workload is like, and just like we've been doing that as well recently as well. And just like a lot of online learning, like there's also a big focus, as Kelly was saying, about like nurturing their grads and kind of setting us up, not just for like working at Aurecon, but just set us up in our careers for life. So kind of just, you know, a lot of like learn like a lunch and learns where, you know, and you can, and they not, and for example, like I'm in the geotech team, but the lunch and learn is not always specifically geotech. It could be a water share or a digital share or, and things like that. So I've had such a great experience working at Aurecon, and I encourage you guys to apply and come and join me. Let's have some fun.
Thanks, Makai. And now Kelly will go through, talk about some diversity and inclusion aspects of life at Aurecon.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Makai. Well done. Cheers, Nathan. So diversity and inclusion, it's at the heart of Aurecon and bringing our ideas to life. So, you know, as part of being one of the best places to work and having our client and people focus, we have, you know, a real value in diversity and inclusion. We've got employees in 11 countries with extensive diversity of technical expertise, leadership knowledge, lived experience. And we strive for all employees to have your voice heard and feel valued and connected. So when we can celebrate the best of ourselves and others, the depth of our experience and breadth of our professional expertise means we are positioned to transform a great idea into a brilliant solution. So it's all about getting the best out of our people in a really constructive way. And then that helps feed our clients and those around us in our community. So at Aurecon, we've got a diversity and inclusion committee to support, promote and engage this culture that's reflective of a really successful team. So you can see there that as part of being in the Aurecon community, we have attributes, and these aren't to pigeonhole any of us, but it's really, really valuable in appreciating and understanding how each other works and how you work. So our 8 attributes describe the kinds of people that we attract for ourselves and our teams, as well as our clients. Each of our teams are comprised of individuals who uniquely embrace one or multiple of these attributes, but as a team together, we reflect the diverse spectrum of all 8 of these attributes. So following on from this, we then have 6 principles which describe the kind of culture where our people, i.e. you guys, can flourish and bring our ideas to life. So we like to create a legacy. This is creating communities that we want to be in, helping support our people, having goals and I guess legacies to leave around engineering something new or having input to a great strategic plan. We like to be playful with serious intent. So we've got to get creative to get those really good juices flowing and get those really different ideas and those innovations and that really fun culture, creating solutions for our clients that are different but relevant. We believe it and we say it and we do it. We like to make the complex simple. So you going through uni, you'll be doing that every day. So it's just at another level, right? So you can bring that all back down, and we have lots of people that you network in that have all of those different attributes. So they all look at things really, really differently to make the complex simple. We're nimble. So we've got to adapt. We've got to adapt to our environments, to our communities, to our clients, to our people. Massive demonstration of that is COVID, but I think that, you know, our business has really flourished in that space, and we've been able to still connect, still network, still deliver like really, really well even. So it's about that ability to be flex and to be nimble. And then mastering your craft. So it's that technical excellence, and we've got lots of forums where we're sharing that technical excellence, where we're developing that technical excellence. As part of our diversity and inclusion group, we've got pillars, and these all feed down to each and every one of us. So the committee isn't just sort of sitting outside the business. It's the committee that then has some representatives from each office and each region, and typically each discipline group, to then disseminate each of these values throughout our business. So our three main pillars are gender equality, Indigenous inclusion, and LGBTI and inclusion. Additional to that, we've got more and more information around disability and accessibility, so we can have a real influence on how we engineer and how we impact community decisions, council decisions, industry decisions around the accessibility of a building or of a train station. And then we've got neurodiversity as well. So on LinkedIn, you'll be able to find a cool article that's just come out, and it's really engaging and leveraging off the values that each of our people have, no matter what walk of life they come from or what their values and different sort of shape is. With the gender equality, some of the things that we do around that include Ascend leadership training, as well as Design Academy for women. We've got commitment to equality in our ownership and executive positions. So Nathan mentioned, we're a private company, so there's an equality in that ownership. We've got different tools around formal mentoring. We've got male champions of change. So it's not just about women being empowered to do things, but it's also about men being empowered to come along for the journey and have a voice in that equality as well. We've got talking talent. So there's things, for the females out there that may want to have children, there's parenting support, but also for the guys that are going to be dads, there's parental leave and parental policies that allow you to be engaged in that leave process as well. So you've really got that equal opportunity to have that time at home with your kids if you choose to do so. We're working on pay parity. We work on Yes Flex. So Mackay spoke to that flexible working arrangement, and that's a really big thing. I think it's highlighted more over the last 2 years around COVID, and having that ability to work flexibly for your mental health, your physical health. But it also works for different projects, right? If you find the right project and the right team, you can bounce off one another, and you have good comms and you have a clear plan, and that flexible working can pretty well look like anything you need it to, that you'd like it to, in line with your line manager and the project requirements you've got at the time. In terms of our Indigenous pillar, we're creating new opportunities. We're always engaged with different business lines, different business engagements. We have cultural awareness trainings as well as cultural safety. I facilitated a virtual national forum last year, and there's some really great stories that we've got internally that we were able to share with that group. We couldn't have more people on this call today, but there's lots of information that we can provide around that, around different Indigenous people's journeys through the Aurecon, the way of life. And then there's our LGBTI and inclusion. So our Pride network is what they're called. So it's a network of members and allies in the LGBTQI community that's dedicated to driving inclusion and creating a safe space so that everyone can bring their whole self to work. And that's really important for us, is that safe place and that inclusion. So having those voices and having those allies as part of that Pride group really elevates those people being able to come to work as their whole selves and not have to hide anything about that. So the D&I group is really engaged, both Mackay and I on that committee representing Newcastle. So there's always something going on, and it might just be a coffee and cake in the office for a Wear It Purple Day or an International Women's Day. But all of those things are always at the forefront, and there's lots of things happening in the background that we work towards in engaging the rest of the Aurecon community with. Thanks, Nathan.
Thanks, Kelly. So I'll now just talk about a little bit about Newcastle, what we do, and New South Wales as well. Talk about some of our local projects, some of the other sort of larger projects we've done in New South Wales and Australia across a range of disciplines, and then just some of the cool things we do with different digital technologies as well, and then we'll wrap things up. So, so yeah, in Newcastle or in New South Wales, Aurecon has about 800 staff, and we have about 75 of them in Newcastle. We've been operating in Newcastle for over 60 years, and I like to think that we've really helped shape the community here with some of the great projects that we've delivered over that time. In our local office, we have a whole range of teams. We have a building structures team, a bridges team, electrical, geotech, roads and civil, survey, water, asset management, environment, planning, program advisory, and energy as well. I missed it on that slide, but we do have energy staff in Newcastle. And we've all been contributing to delivering award-winning projects for our clients. And the one on the screen there is a great example of that. That's that's a project that we developed in conjunction with AMP Control in Newcastle, and that's Project Gilgai. And that project won heaps of awards last year, and all the way through to the Institute of Civil Engineers in the UK. And it was one of the national finalists in the Engineering Excellence Awards as well. So it's essentially a modular water treatment plant. It is solar powered. It all fits into a shipping container, and it can be rolled out to remote communities to help provide them with safe, clean drinking water at basically zero cost because of the solar power. So that's a great project and a great example of innovation that helped underpin our win last year at the Most Innovative Companies Award. So I'll just run through some of the projects. As I said, this first one is one that I was involved in, and Kelly as well. It's the Rankin Park to Jesmond concept and detail design. So that's not far from the university. It's a new 3.2 kilometre dual carriageway motorway. Has 3 interchanges. It goes basically from Lookout Road through to the west of John Hunter Hospital and joins up at the existing roundabout at Jesmond. It was a really challenging project. It's got 3 major interchanges, 7 bridges throughout, and really challenging ground conditions with abandoned mine workings beneath the project. We also did the early works for it as well, which is the pedestrian bridge behind me on the screen that we delivered locally too. Still in Newcastle, our buildings team have delivered the McDonald Jones Stadium. We locally delivered the structural, civil and electrical and mechanical services. This project received a highly commended award at the 2011 Engineering Excellence Awards. Our buildings team also worked on the delivery of the iconic New Space building in the CBD. In addition to that, both buildings teams and most of the Newcastle office worked on the delivery of Newcastle Light Rail as well. Both of these projects were recognised in the 2018 and 2020 Engineering Excellence Awards. So in addition to the Rankin Park to Jesmond project and Newcastle Light Rail, we've delivered a lot of other transport projects around the place, particularly in the Hunter and the Central Coast. So the one on the screen there is the Pacific Highway Wyong Road intersection upgrades. That was a new bridge over the railway down at Tuggerah. And we've done a lot of projects like this on the Central Coast. And this project again was another Engineers Australia Excellence Award winner in 2018. It was quite a challenging project with work in close proximity to rail. We have a very strong local water team, and they've delivered many projects across the Hunter. In addition to the Project Gilgai that I mentioned earlier, they've delivered Burwood Beach UV treatment plant, which you can see on the screen there. Unfortunately, it's popped up in the news just because of the COVID detection yesterday, but we've also delivered the Muswellbrook recycled water treatment works, and the team's currently working on the Cessnock wastewater treatment works as well. In addition to the local projects, we have a very strong water team in Sydney that's currently working on a 10-year planning partnership with Sydney Water. So more broadly, just a few other projects now. We have an energy team in Aurecon that operates across Australia and New Zealand and Asia, across all our sort of areas of operation. A great project that they delivered relatively recently was the Hornsdale Power Reserve. So in 2016, there was a 1 in 50 year storm in South Australia, which resulted in a statewide blackout. Some of you may recall that there was some conversation in the media, and the challenge was put out to industry to try and produce a battery to help mitigate that risk going forward. And that led to Elon Musk and Tesla getting involved in the supply of that battery. So Aurecon was engaged as part of that works to support the detailed definition of the project requirements, the installation and the connection to the national grid, and that was all delivered in record time. And we had a really deep engineering expertise in power systems, battery storage technology, and energy markets, and a good understanding of the South Australian market as well that helped us help the South Australian government and Tesla deliver this. In Sydney, we have, again, a lot of electrical engineers and mechanical engineers working on a project. It's a large infrastructure civil project, but we are delivering all of the electrical services for that, and that's the Sydney Metro City and Southwest Extension. So it runs from Chatswood under Sydney Harbour through new CBD stations and then southwest Bankstown. It'll open in 2024. And it'll have 7 new stations and 11 upgraded stations. So we're working with our JV partners to deliver line-wide work that will turn the excavated tunnels into a working railway. And that includes installing 31 kilometres of underground track laid through the tunnels, and more than 350 kilometres of high voltage, low voltage and service cabling, and 11 new substations, all required to power and run the new metro expansion. Still in the transport sort of space, we are working on the Western Sydney Airport. So Aurecon's providing the terminal precinct engineering design services for the new $5.3 billion Western Sydney Airport. We've also done the bulk earthworks as well for it. So we were selected through a competitive tender process to oversee the engineering of the terminal precinct, which when finished will support 10 million passengers per annum through Western Sydney. Another project that's completed a little while ago was the Barangaroo Reserve and the Cutaway. I'm not sure if many people have been down to that site, but our team in Sydney, and we had people in Newcastle involved in this as well, provided engineering and design services for the redevelopment of the 6-hectare space that was the old waterfront port facility at Barangaroo. So the redevelopment basically saw the derelict space transformed into a new multi-use destination, complete with a 120 metre long by 30 metre wide column-free subterranean space, which is the Cutaway. Another interesting fact from that project is the foreshore restoration works. So a lot of the sandstone that was quarried out of the excavation for the Cutaway was used to create a jointing pattern around the foreshore and a more naturalised foreshore. And this was done all modelled in 3D in Revit, and all the individual sandstone blocks were tagged with barcodes so they could be installed to the correct locations. And if you get a chance to walk around the foreshore there, it's a great outcome. That's a good segue to some of the digital stuff that we do. So Aurecon, we like to pride ourselves at sort of being near the cutting edge, or at the cutting edge of digital engineering. And there's probably 3 kind of broad areas that we certainly in Newcastle have involvement in this space. The first one is in scanning. So we have survey teams that get heavily involved in terrestrial laser scanning on top of a traditional survey, and that there is a 3D laser scan of an existing large underpass. And then the other image at the top there is a photogrammetric model of a bridge bearing. So that was stitched together from probably 60 to 70 photos of the existing bridge bearing, and it helped us determine the size to make sure the new bearing, which was to be installed, was the correct size when it was procured. Sort of another aspect of digital engineering that we use is modelling, 3D modelling. So a couple of examples here, again, local examples. These are from the Rankin Park to Jesmond project. That project has really challenging geological conditions, quite a layer cake of strata, coal and various other rocks. So to counter that, we modelled all the geological strata in a software called Leapfrog. and that enabled us to be able to cut sections through and understand volumes of material, what material outcropped where, and help to optimize the earthworks for the project. In addition, for that project, we created a weekly updated Navisworks model, which is a 3D model, fully coordinated model of all disciplines designs. So that included bridges, utilities, roads, drainage, traffic lights, and then that could be updated weekly, provided to Transport for New South Wales, who are the client, and serve as a coordination and collaboration tool for the project. And finally, we're also doing more and more computational design. So this is another bridge that was done for that particular project, and it was modeled using Dynamo. So that is that spider web of lines on the right-hand side there is a Dynamo script that essentially took a number of inputs, the control lines for the bridge, the alignment, the various aspects about the spans, and then created a 3D model for that, which we used to document the design. So to wrap things up, if you're interested, if we've sold you, which I hope we have, you can apply to Aurecon. We're currently intaking graduates for next year still, and interns as well. So these were the grads and intern roles that were listed out on the flyer that was distributed. There's a link there as well, which is the link for the intern applications. That closes on the 15th of August, so not too far away. There's an outline there of all the roles that we're looking for, but I'd encourage you, if you're interested, just by all means reach out anyway. And because quite often these things do, like Mackay said, having some initiative and reaching out, things change, demands change quite regularly, and you know, if you're interested, we can see what we can do. That's another project that we've done again in Newcastle. That's the Newcastle Transport Interchange, and Aurecon was the designer for that. So with that, that's sort of the end of our slide deck. I'm happy to open it up for questions if people have any. By all means, shout out.